You might have one of the goriest jobs in what is the most visited city on planet Earth, Bangkok, arguably one of the most chaotic metropolises in the world. It's the capital city of a country with an appalling road safety record. Drunk drivers fill the streets night after night, threading through traffic under dazzling neon lights. Motorcyclists whiz around and often ignore traffic laws. They're sometimes helmetless heads as vulnerable to cracking on tarmac as sweet Thai watermelons. News reports depict weekly people in a fit of road rage pulling out guns, machetes, and other weapons. Rich folks cause crashes with seeming impunity. The poor on their bikes might only hope for a handout from the wealthy Mercedes driver in exchange. Blood stains the streets nightly, and if you're a Bangkokian, then you'll likely have lost a friend to this chaos. It's a bloody, wacky races in real time, real life, and you're the cleanup guy. This is no exaggeration. Various statistics point to Thailand as being one place you certainly take your life into your own hands when you drive. Over the years, the official statistics for death on the road has had Thailand somewhere in the top 5, yet among nations not near as developed. A few years ago, the World Health Organization had Thailand the second worst country behind Libya, with 24,237 traffic deaths. Many more are very seriously injured. That death toll meant 36.2 deaths for every 100,000 people. It's high, considering the USA is around 12 deaths per 100,000, and the UK just 3. The WHO reported that in 2018 things got better, but not by much. Apparently 22,000 people died on the roads that year. Roughly, it means 60 people will die each day on Thai roads, while the number of people injured has to be very high. It's maybe a fuzzy comparison, but consider the USA being thought of as dangerous in terms of being murder. Well, take a holiday to Thailand and get in traffic, which is almost unavoidable, and you're around 5 to 6 times more likely to be killed on the roads than you would being murdered in the USA. And let's face it, as murders are mostly crimes of passion or gang-related, and road carnage endows equal opportunities on people, being on the roads in Thailand is serious business. It's life-threatening, and that's not hyperbole. To put things further into perspective, consider that in the space of just 2 years, 3 people were killed in Thailand while doing an around-the-world cycling trip. In 2015, a Chilean cyclist doing such a trip was killed on his bicycle when he was hit by a truck. He was attempting to beat the world record for cycling 250,000 kilometers on 5 continents in 5 years. In 2013, a British couple were both killed on their trip when again hit by a truck. Over 2 years, they'd cycled through much of the world, riding through deserts, mountains, even an armed conflict in Tajikistan. And their trip sadly ended in a province east of Bangkok because a guy hadn't been looking where he was going. That driver said his hat fell off and he hit them when bending down to retrieve it. He was fined $30 and handed a suspended 2-year prison sentence. Thailand is no place for breaking records on the road, unless you intend to become part of a grim statistical record. With this in mind, you can imagine what it might be like working as a paramedic in Thailand. The deaths and injuries happen so often in Bangkok and all over Thailand that there are rescue foundations employed to attend to the dying and pick up the dead. If you've seen the news reports, this can sometimes mean picking up the body parts in plastic bags. It's a grisly occupation and it's demanding. Just recently in 2019, the New York Times featured this mayhem, while an article in the Bangkok Post published around the same time discussed the efforts of an American photographer and professor at Stanford International University who has followed these rescue crews, taking vivid shots of road carnage for 9 years. That article explains that Thai police broadcast accidents and the ever-ready rescue crews head off to the scene. Riding shotgun, the American photographer sometimes took his students on the ride for what he called extreme photography. When you spend time with these emergency service people, you realize the massive amount of death that occurs due to motorcycle accidents. The death toll in Thailand is unbelievable, he said. Thai media also says that the statistics for death only include those that die at the scene, not later in the hospital, so that death toll is certainly much higher than reported. The rescue crews have sometimes been called body snatchers, a perhaps pejorative term for people that are helping out. You see, in the entire city of Bangkok, at least in 2017, there were only a reported 150 ambulances, and so it's up to these rescue services to help them out. As Vice magazine pointed out, one charity who does this job was given the name the Body Snatchers, not because they were doing anything nefarious, but because so often they arrive at the scene and that's what they find, a body, not a living, breathing person. There's more to this though, and we'll get to it shortly. The journalist went out with the crew saying there were quiet times, but on weekends and when the bars emptied out, there was often mayhem. He arrived at one accident, and lying in the street were a family of 3, a husband, a wife, and their badly injured 8-year-old son. In Thailand, if you don't have cash for a car, a family will often travel on a motorcycle, and that could be a family of 4. It's not only traffic casualties that the volunteers pick up either. They tend to shooting victims, overdose victims, victims of all kinds of tragedies. But it's the streets where most of the blood is spilled. In a video piece by The Guardian, a Thai volunteer tells the camera, "Drunk people have no conscience." And soon after, the shot cuts out to a bandaged man and a scene of a girl being frantically resuscitated by the volunteers. We should say that the teams are paid for each pickup, but it's more just reimbursement for costs, and not much is left for expansion or development. In that video interview, one volunteer tells the camera, "They call us body snatchers," but for him, it seems he prefers the term body collector. The next scene is a horribly mangled car. The volunteers cut their way into it, only for a lifeless young woman to be pulled out. The victim is 20 years old, a third-year student at the university. She's photographed and fingerprinted and taken to the morgue. It's not something he likes seeing, he says. It's just a job that needs to be done. Philosophically, he adds, "When you're born, you have nothing. When you die, you have nothing. Only our good deeds remain." Then he goes on to the next accident. CNN called the so-called body snatchers competitive merchants of death. It wrote, "Bangkok's fearless body snatchers careen through traffic to morbid disaster sites where they seize fresh human corpses to pack in mustard-colored coffins for yet another profitable cremation." The article stated that rescue workers flock to scenes to pick up the dead, the dismembered, the bleeding, and the sick. This is a 2010 article, and we can't tell you that things are the same, but perhaps it sheds some light on why body collectors got the name body snatchers. The story explains that in Bangkok, there are 2 main rescue foundations vying to be the first on the scene, which promotes competition, much like similar rescue services in the USA in the 19th century. The article explains that now there's no real rivalry between services, but adds years ago they occasionally fought each other with knives and other weapons while simultaneously pulling on corpses despite the presence of weeping loved ones. One of the volunteers confirmed the brawls, but said he only fought with his fists. Back in the day, there were too many services in Bangkok, and after such feuds, the Bangkok authorities said there could only be 2. We don't want to undermine the good work the rescue services do, but only perhaps enlighten our viewers as to why the negative-sounding term body snatcher came about. The authorities have said the hospitals are also to blame for the zealousness of the services, claiming that they pay for injured victims so they can profit from the patient. However, it seems now that the rescue services cover different areas and work different shifts. But why would anyone choose to be a volunteer, even if they get a pittance to do so? In various interviews, you'll find people saying it's solely to do good, but add that merit is made doing the job. In Thailand, making merit is a big issue, a country whose residents for the most part believe in the concept of karma. One volunteer said she does it because she lost a friend in a traffic accident, which, as we said, is not really unusual at all. In fact, to have not lost a friend to the roads in Thailand is unusual, for a local or even for a long-term expat. Another girl interviewed said, "I'm studying hotel management at university, so this experience will help me, because when I work in a hotel, I'll have to deal with all kinds of people." She did say, though, that the first time picking up a corpse was unpleasant for her. This certainly goes against some Thai critics that in the past have accused some volunteers of being hoodlums and vultures, who have even stolen from the dead. From what we can see, people don't seem to hold this view anymore. In another interview, an expat from New Zealand talked about what it was like for him working for a rescue foundation. He said, "I began working in the rescue vehicles collecting the dead from all over Bangkok and Thailand. I've been doing it ever since." That was in 2010, though. He said the job was adrenaline pumping, but he enjoyed working with the other volunteers, whom he called his workmates. He said he held down a teaching job during the day and worked through the night at the foundation, and at one point in time he even had his own ambulance. After that, he even became kind of a celebrity, getting on Thai TV. Of that, he said, "One of the many bizarre situations of working in Bangkok was being at a crash scene and an onlooker asking if they could have their photo taken with me." In a separate interview, the same guy was compared to the madcap Lieutenant Colonel Bill Kilgore in his iconic scene in the movie Apocalypse Now, in which he says, "I love the smell of napalm in the morning." It seems working as a rescue worker in Bangkok, you don't have to be as impassive to carnage as that soldier was, but you do have to learn how to hold back anguish or fear in order to do the job. The Bangkok streets are no place for easily queasy fellows. The phantasmagoria of a life of accidents has to be embraced, and sadness should be left to relatives and friends of the victims. It seems you've also got to be tough in this line of work. As the expat said in an interview about his job in Bangkok, "I think it's a dangerous place for many different reasons. Almost every second vehicle contains a gun or a weapon of some kind. Friends in my ambulance group carry weapons, and sometimes there are shots exchanged with other groups. Still," he said, he holds his workmates in very high regard. They might have been maligned in the past by some people, but they are certainly indispensable right now and do something most folks would never consider doing. They pick up the dead, the fleshy and oozing bits and pieces. They tend to the sick, the grievously injured, and they often get them to the hospital just in time. It seems fracases still do break out now and again though, with Thai news site Manager Online writing in 2018 that two foundations called the Katamu Foundation and the Civil Defense Volunteers got into a fight in a hospital. Shots were fired, a woman was reportedly wounded, and a mob beat a man senseless. While it seems the days of feuding are long gone, emotion spilled over on this particular stormy night. Police eventually charged a 26-year-old man with attempted murder. You'd think the body snatchers would have seen enough blood, but at least if they get injured, they are in good hands. We have two questions for you. One, do you think you could do this job? And two, what's your opinion about these foundations and the people who work for them? We'd especially like to hear from you if you are Thai. Tell us your answers in the comments. Also, be sure to watch our other video, The Japanese Yakuza, Most Dangerous and Powerful Gangs in the World. Thanks for watching, and as always, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. See you next time.